Hey there, welcome to Motion English Podcast. In this lesson, we're diving into the everyday expressions I rely on constantly in real conversations, the kind of language that instantly makes you sound natural and fluent. Native speakers use these all the time, yet most students never really practice them. Once you start using these expressions, you won't just sharpen your speaking and listening, you'll begin thinking directly in English without pausing to translate. We'll look at how these phrases show up everywhere: chatting at home, talking with coworkers, catching up over coffee, on phone calls, agreeing or disagreeing with someone, and reacting when something surprises you. Along the way, you'll get chances to practice out loud and build real confidence. Before we dive in, hit subscribe to Motion English Podcast and turn on notifications so you catch every new lesson designed to help your English grow. All right, settle in, take a breath, and let's start speaking with more confidence together. Let's kick things off with expressions we use so often we barely notice how much they do for our conversations. Things like "you know what I mean," "that makes sense," or "I totally get you." They're short and simple, but they're what keeps a conversation feeling alive and connected. Picture this: a friend tells you about their day at work. They say, "My boss made me redo the whole presentation, even after I stayed up all night finishing it." A natural response would be, "Oh, I totally get you, that's so frustrating." That one phrase, "I totally get you," instantly shows empathy and keeps the conversation flowing. Let's practice it together. Say it slowly: "I totally get you." One more time: "I totally get you." Really feel the rhythm as you say it. Now add some emotion to it: "I totally get you." Here's another useful one: "that makes sense." Use this when someone explains something and you want to show you followed along. Just say, "Yeah, that makes sense." It's casual, natural, and something fluent speakers say all the time. Try it with me: "Yeah, that makes sense." A bit quicker this time: "Yeah, that makes sense." Nicely done. Now let's combine both phrases in a short exchange. You say, "I couldn't finish the report, my computer crashed on me." Your friend replies, "Oh, I totally get you, that must have been so annoying." You answer, "Yeah, it was. But it's all sorted now." They respond, "That makes sense." Notice how smooth and natural that sounded. Nothing stiff or textbook-like, just real conversation. That's exactly the goal here. Speaking English fluently isn't about fancy vocabulary. It's about choosing words that carry feeling, intention, and rhythm. That's what fluent speakers naturally do. Let's move to another set of everyday phrases, ones you use when agreeing with someone or showing support. Instead of a plain yes or okay, try something with more personality, like "absolutely, exactly, you're right about that," or "I couldn't agree more." Repeat after me: "Absolutely, exactly. You're right about that, I couldn't agree more." These expressions sound relaxed and confident, exactly how native speakers talk. Let's put them into context. Someone says, "I think learning through real conversations works better than just studying grammar rules." You could respond, "Absolutely, that's the best way to learn naturally." Or, "Exactly, that's how you really get the feel of the language." Try saying these with some energy: "Absolutely. Exactly, you're right about that, I couldn't agree more." Think about your day for a second. How often do you agree with someone, a coworker, a friend, a family member? Try swapping your usual yes for one of these phrases instead. It'll instantly make you sound more natural and fluent. Let's run through a few quick examples. At work, a colleague says, "We need to wrap up this project by tomorrow." You reply, "Absolutely, let's get it done." A friend says, "This cafe makes the best coffee around." You respond, "Exactly. Their cappuccino is amazing." Or someone says, "Speaking English daily really boosts your fluency." You could say, "You're right about that," or "I couldn't agree more." Pay attention to your tone each time. Fluency isn't only about the words you choose, it's about how you say them. That rhythm and emotion is what brings your English to life. Let's do a quick speaking drill. I'll give you a sentence and you respond using one of the agreement phrases we just learned. Ready? Practicing English is more effective than just memorizing grammar rules. Your response: "Absolutely," or "Exactly." Next, speaking slowly can really improve your pronunciation. You say, "You're right about that." One more: "It's much easier to remember new words when you use them in real sentences." You respond, "I couldn't agree more." Great work, you're not just repeating words. You're training your brain to think in these patterns automatically. Now let's talk about reacting to surprising news. Instead of a flat "oh" or "really," try something more expressive like, "No way, you're kidding, that's unbelievable," or "Are you serious?" For example, a friend tells you, I ran into your favorite actor yesterday. You could respond, no way, you're kidding. These kinds of reactions make you sound genuinely engaged instead of flat or robotic. Let's practice, no way, you're kidding, that's unbelievable. Are you serious? Say them with some real feeling this time. Notice how your voice naturally rises with surprise. That energy is what makes your English sound alive. Let's try a few situations. A friend says, I just got a new job. You respond, no way, congratulations. A coworker says, we finished the project 2 days early. You say, that's unbelievable. Someone tells you, I ran 5 miles this morning. You reply, are you serious? When you speak with genuine emotion, your brain links that feeling to the language, and that connection is what builds real fluency. Take a moment now, close your eyes if you'd like, and picture yourself speaking English with total confidence, using these phrases naturally, your tone relaxed, your words flowing effortlessly. That's what consistent practice gets you. So whenever you pick up a new phrase, don't just read it silently, say it out loud, use it in real conversations, and let your brain absorb the natural rhythm of English. Let's go a little deeper into everyday conversation now. Every conversation has moments where you need to show you're listening to keep things flowing and make the other person feel heard. In natural, fluent English, we don't do this with long sentences. We use short, warm, responsive phrases instead. Imagine someone's telling you about their weekend and you want to show you're really listening. Instead of staying quiet or just saying, yeah, try phrases like, oh, really, that's nice. Sounds great, good for you, or I see what you mean. Let's practice together, nice and slow. Oh, really, that's nice, sounds great, good for you, I see what you mean. Here's a quick example. A friend says, I finally started going back to the gym after 2 months off. You respond, good for you, that's amazing. Then their friend adds, it's hard to stay consistent. Though you respond, yeah, I see what you mean. That little back and forth keeps the conversation warm and alive. It shows you're not just hearing them, you're actually connecting. Let's repeat these together, thinking about tone. Good for you, say it with excitement. I see what you mean, say it with understanding. Sounds great, say it warmly and friendly. Try recording yourself saying these and playing it back. The more natural you sound, the closer you get to real fluency. Let's keep going. When you're chatting casually in English, you'll also need small filler words, the ones native speakers use while they're thinking. Words like, I mean, well, actually, or let me think. These matter a lot for sounding smooth and natural. Let's practice using them with real meaning. If someone asks, why did you pick that restaurant? You might say, well, I just really like the vibe there. When explaining something, you could say, it's one of those cozy, relaxed places. To clarify a point, try, I mean, it's nothing fancy, but it's really nice. And when you need a second to think, let me think buys you time naturally. Let's repeat these together. Well, I mean, actually, let me think. These aren't just filler, they show confidence and control. Without them, your English can sound too blunt or robotic. With them, it flows just like a native speaker's. Here's a quick practice exercise. Imagine describing your favorite movie to a friend. Well, it's kind of old, but it's really good, The story really stays with you. I mean, it's emotional, but not too heavy. Say that out loud, copying the tone and the natural pauses. That's exactly how real conversations sound. Now let's move to another set of everyday expressions, polite phrases you can use anywhere. Being polite doesn't mean sounding overly formal, it just means being soft, respectful, and kind. Instead of give me that, try could you pass me that please. Instead of I want water, say could I get some water please. And instead of just wait, try just a second. Please, these small softeners make your English sound much more natural and pleasant. Let's repeat them slowly. Could you pass me that please? Could I get some water please? Just a second please. Even in professional settings, these phrases go a long way. For example, would you mind sending me the file? If it's okay, could we talk later? Thanks a lot for your help. Let's turn these into a quick dialogue. You say, hi, could I get a glass of water please? The waiter replies, of course. You respond, thanks a lot. Or at the office, would you mind checking this report for me? A colleague says. Sure, I'll take a look. You reply, thanks, I really appreciate it. Try saying these again, but this time really feel the warmth in your tone. Fluency isn't just grammar, it's the attitude you bring to your words. Next, let's look at phrases for when you didn't quite catch what someone said. In real conversations, people talk fast, and sometimes you'll miss a word here and there. Instead of just saying what, try softer options like sorry, could you say that again? Or I didn't quite catch that. Let's practice together. Sorry, could you say that again? I didn't quite catch that. These phrases keep your conversations sounding polite and natural. Here's a quick example. Someone asks, "So what time are we meeting tomorrow?" You didn't hear clearly, so you say, "Sorry, could you say that again?" They repeat it and you respond, "Oh, right around 10, I think." Simple. Polite and fluent. Now let's cover one more essential group, phrases for wrapping up a conversation smoothly. Ending a conversation naturally is just as important as starting one. Instead of just saying bye, try something like, "It was really nice talking to you. Let's catch up soon, talk to you later, or take care." Let's repeat these slowly together. It was really nice talking to you. Let's catch up soon, talk to you later, take care. These phrases help you end any conversation on a warm, natural note. Let's put them into a quick scenario. You're wrapping up a meeting. "All right, I think that covers everything for today. It was really nice talking to you." Take care, or you're finishing a call with a friend. "Okay, I've got to run, but let's catch up soon." Practice these a few times until they feel smooth and natural. Now let's bring everything together in one short interactive exercise. Picture this: you're meeting a friend at a coffee shop after not seeing them in a while. I'll read their lines, and you respond using what we've practiced today. Your friend says, "Hey, it's been forever." You respond, "Yeah, it really has, so good to see you again." They say, "I actually just started a new job last month." You reply, "Oh, really? That's awesome, good for you." They add, "It's been pretty stressful, honestly." You say, "Yeah, I know what you mean." They continue, "But my team's been really supportive." You respond, "That makes sense, it's always easier when you've got good people around you." They say, "We really should hang out more." You reply, "Absolutely, let's catch up soon." See how naturally that flowed. Small, realistic phrases packed with real feeling, that's what fluent conversation is built on. Keep practicing, and these expressions will start coming to you automatically. You won't need to translate or overthink. Your brain will start pulling them out naturally because they're stored as full chunks, not single words. Take a breath now and quietly say to yourself, "I can speak English naturally. I can use everyday phrases with confidence. I'm getting better every single day." Real confidence comes from believing you can express yourself even with simple language. It's not about being perfect, it's about genuinely connecting. In the next part, we'll build on this even further and dive into advanced linking phrases, expressions that help your ideas flow smoothly and make your more natural in absolutely every situation. Now let's dive into one of the most powerful tools for sounding fluent in English, linking phrases. These are the small connector words that make your sentences flow naturally together instead of coming out choppy or disconnected. Think about how native speakers link their ideas when they talk. They don't just stop after every single thought, they use expressions like "by the way," "as I was saying," "speaking of," "actually," "on the other hand," or "that reminds me." These little phrases are what make a conversation feel natural and easy to follow. Let's go through them one at a time with examples you can actually use. Say you're chatting about your weekend and suddenly remember something else to mention. You could say, "Oh, by the way, I finally watched that movie you told me about." Smooth and natural. Let's practice "by the way, oh, by the way." Use this when you want to add something new or shift the topic slightly. Next, if you're picking up a thought after being interrupted, try "as I was saying." It brings the conversation back to your original point. For example, "As I was saying, staying consistent is really the key to fluency." Repeat with me. "As I was saying," here's another one, "speaking of." Use it to connect something the other person just said to a related idea of your own. Say someone brings up travel, you could respond, "Speaking of travel, I'm actually planning a trip to Italy next month." Try it. Speaking of, these connecting phrases let your thoughts flow smoothly, like a stream instead of choppy pieces. Let's combine a few of them in a short conversation. You say, "I ran into Emma yesterday." Your friend asks, "Oh yeah. How's she doing?" You reply, "She's doing great, by the way, she just started a new job in London." Your friend says, "Wow, that's fantastic." You add, "Yeah, as I was saying. She's been putting in a lot of effort lately." Your friend responds, "Speaking of effort, you've been pretty swamped too, huh?" Notice how smoothly that moved from topic to topic. You barely notice the shift, that's what fluent English sounds like. Let's move to another type of connector, contrast phrases like "however," "even though," "on the other hand," and "at the same time." These help you express more nuanced ideas, like comparing two things or showing different sides of a situation. For example, "I like working from home. However, it can feel a bit isolating sometimes." Or, I enjoy watching movies at home, but on the other hand, going to the theater feels more exciting. Let's repeat slowly. However, on the other hand, even though at the same time. Now try building your own sentences. For example, I love coffee. However, I try not to overdo it. Or, I like the energy of big cities, but on the other hand, I also love quiet little towns. Practice expressing contrast at a relaxed, natural pace, not rushed. Not overly formal. Now let's look at phrases for adding extra information. These work like little bridges between ideas. You can use in addition, besides, also, or what's more. Imagine describing your morning routine. I usually start my day with coffee. In addition, I listen to a short English podcast. I like reading in the morning, besides, it helps me focus. I enjoy learning English daily. What's more, it makes me feel more confident. Let's repeat. In addition, besides, what's more. Now try a real-life example. You're telling a friend about how your English has been improving. I've been watching a lot more English content lately. Besides that, I try to speak English with my coworkers. Your friend says, that's a great idea. You reply, yeah, and what's more. I've started recording myself to check my pronunciation. These small connectors are what make your English sound more advanced, not because they're complicated, but because they make your speech feel natural and logical. Let's try a quick reflection activity. Think about how you describe your own day using linking phrases. For example, I woke up early today. After that, I made breakfast. Then I listened to an English lesson. Later on, I went for a walk. Now try saying it again, but smoother. I woke up early today, and after that, I made breakfast. Then I listened to an English lesson, and later on, I went for a walk. Now let's push it a bit further to sound even more fluent. I woke up early today. After making breakfast, I listened to an English lesson, and later on, I went for a walk to clear my head. Notice how much smoother that rhythm feels. That's the real secret to fluency. It's not about big vocabulary, it's about smooth flow. Let's take it one step further. To sound even more natural, we also use cause and effect phrases like so, that's why, as a result, because of that, and therefore. For example, I was exhausted. So I went to bed early. I didn't study yesterday, that's why I'm reviewing today. I've been practicing English daily, and as a result, I feel a lot more confident. I've been listening to more English podcasts, therefore my listening skills have really improved. Let's repeat these gently. Feeling the connection between cause and effect. Now imagine describing your own progress in English. You might say, I started practicing consistently, and as a result, I feel much more confident speaking now. Try it again, this time without reading, make it your own sentence. Based on your real journey. Take a moment to pause and think about what you'd say. Maybe something like, I used to be really shy, but I kept practicing every day, and now I can talk to anyone in English. That's exactly the kind of natural, heartfelt expression that brings your English to life. Let's move on to time connectors now. These help organize your ideas and make your stories easier to follow. Use words like at first, then, after that, later, eventually, and finally. For example, at first I didn't understand much English, then I started listening more. After that, I began speaking with more confidence. Eventually, I could think directly in English. Finally, I reached fluency. Let's go through that story together slowly. And really feel how these time connectors guide the listener through your journey. At first, then, after that, later, eventually, finally. This is exactly how fluent speakers naturally tell stories, each thought flowing right into the next. Let's try a short storytelling exercise together. I'll begin and you can add your own version as you repeat it out loud. At first, I felt nervous speaking English, then I started practicing with simple sentences. After that, I began using new phrases every day. Later, I noticed people understanding me more easily. Eventually, I stopped translating in my head. Finally, I felt confident and natural. Wonderful, that's your own English journey told step by step. Here's the thing about fluency, it's not about speaking fast, it's about flow. And that flow comes from linking your ideas with small connector words that make your speech feel continuous and clear. Before we move forward, let's try a quick speaking challenge. I'll give you a few simple, separate sentences and you'll try connecting them naturally using what we've covered. Ready? I woke up late, I missed my bus. I was tired at work, now say it again but connected smoothly. I woke up late so I missed my bus and because of that I was tired at work. Here's another one, I started reading more. My vocabulary improved. I feel more confident now. Try connecting it. I started reading more and as a result, my vocabulary improved. That's why I feel more confident now. Every time you practice this way, your English rhythm gets smoother and your confidence naturally grows. So from now on, don't just memorize isolated phrases, connect them. Think in full, flowing sentences that tell a story, carry emotion, and link your ideas together naturally. You're not just learning vocabulary here, you're building the habit of speaking smoothly, confidently, and clearly, just like a fluent English speaker. Now let's go a bit deeper into phrases that make your English sound confident, polite, and emotionally aware, expressions that let you respond naturally in conversations. Not just with the right words, but with the right feeling and tone. Think about the last time you had to disagree with someone politely. A lot of learners feel a bit nervous in that moment because they're not sure how to express a different opinion without sounding rude. But English actually has plenty of soft, friendly ways to disagree. Instead of bluntly saying, "No, that's wrong," try something like, "I see what you mean, but," or "That's a good point, though I think," or "I understand your view." However, these little connectors make disagreement sound respectful and natural. Let's repeat a few slowly. "I see what you mean, but that's a good point, though I think I understand your view." However, picture this scenario. A coworker says, "I think we should cancel the meeting." You could respond, "I see what you mean, but maybe we should hold off deciding until tomorrow." Or if a friend says, "Watching TV helps me learn English," you might say, "That's a good point, though I think speaking practice helps even more." Try saying these out loud and notice the calm, respectful tone behind them. That's what advanced English sounds like, confident yet kind. Let's do a quick practice round. I'll give you a sentence and you respond politely using one of these disagreement phrases. Here goes. "I think grammar is the only thing that really matters in English." Your response, "I see what you mean, but vocabulary and practice matter just as much." Next, "You should only speak English once you're perfect at it." Your response, "That's a good point, though I think we actually learn through making mistakes." Nicely done. You're learning how to sound mature, respectful, and fluent all at once. Now let's shift to another important part of everyday communication, expressing appreciation and gratitude. Fluency isn't just about getting the grammar right, it's also about attitude. When you express thanks genuinely, it creates warmth and connection in a conversation. Sure, you already know "thank you," but fluent speakers use plenty of variations depending on the situation. For example, "Thanks a lot, I really appreciate it. That means a lot to me. You've been so helpful. That's so kind of you." Let's repeat these slowly together. "Thanks a lot, I really appreciate it. That means a lot to me. You've been so helpful. That's so kind of you." Now picture some real situations. A friend helps you carry something heavy, you say, "Thanks a lot. That's so kind of you." A coworker helps you finish a task, "I really appreciate your help today." Someone gives you a compliment, "Thank you. That means a lot to me." Now let's flip it around. How do you respond when someone thanks you? Instead of just saying "You're welcome," try "No problem," "Anytime," "My pleasure," or "Don't mention it." Let's repeat these gently. "No problem," "Anytime," "My pleasure," "Don't mention it." These small responses sound warm and natural. For example, "Thanks for helping me out." "No problem at all. I really appreciate your time." "My pleasure. Thanks for listening." "Anytime." Keep practicing these little exchanges until they feel automatic. That's how you start thinking directly in English instead of translating in your head. Now let's connect on an emotional level with phrases that express encouragement and positivity. You can use these to lift up others or even yourself. Repeat after me. "You're doing great. Keep it up. Don't give up. You've got this. I'm proud of you." Believe in yourself. These might seem simple, but they're really the heartbeat of everyday spoken English, warm, uplifting, and genuine. Let's put them into context. A friend says, "I'm nervous about my English test." You respond, "Don't worry, you've got this." A coworker says, "I'm working on improving my presentation skills." You reply, "Keep it up, you're getting better every day." Someone admits, "I made a mistake while speaking." You respond kindly, "That's totally fine, everyone makes mistakes." "You're doing great." Now turn these phrases toward yourself for a moment. Say them quietly to yourself. "I'm doing great, I'm improving every day. I can speak English with confidence." That kind of self-talk is powerful. It trains your brain to believe in your own progress, and that belief is what fuels real fluency. Next, let's look at phrases that show curiosity, friendly, natural ways to ask questions instead of just "why" or "what." Try things like, how come? What made you decide that? I was wondering, could you tell me more about that? Or what's that like? Repeat after me, how come? What made you decide that? I was wondering, could you tell me a bit more? What's that like? Picture talking to a friend who just relocated to a new city. You might ask, how come you decided to move? Or what's it like living there? Or a coworker mentions they've started learning Spanish, you could say, that's interesting, what made you decide to learn Spanish? These questions sound gentle and caring rather than like an interrogation. You're building connection, not just gathering facts. Let's run through a realistic scene using these. You say, hey, I heard you started working out again. Your friend replies, yeah, I joined a new gym last week. You ask, oh nice, what made you decide to join? They say, I just wanted to feel healthier. You respond, good for you, what's it like there? Notice how each line keeps the conversation flowing naturally, full of warmth and genuine interest. Now let's look at another habit of fluent speakers, using confirmation phrases to make sure everyone's on the same page. Try things like, so you mean, let me get this straight, if I understand you correctly, or in other words, for example, someone says, I'll be late because my car broke down. You could respond, so you mean you might miss the start of the meeting, or if a teacher explains something a bit complex, you might say, let me get this straight, we only need to hand in one report, right? Repeat slowly, so. You mean let me get this straight, if I understand you correctly, in other words. These phrases show you're really listening, and they also make your English sound more thoughtful and professional. Let's try a quick dialogue. Your colleague says, we're moving the meeting from Monday to Wednesday. You respond, so you mean Monday's meeting is cancelled. They confirm, exactly. You say, got it. Thanks for the heads up. That's the natural rhythm of real conversation, short, clear, and polite. Time for a quick speaking challenge. I'll describe a situation and you respond with any phrase we've covered. You meet someone new at work, what do you say? Maybe, nice to meet you, how's your first week going? Someone shares good news, how do you respond? Try, that's amazing, I'm really happy for you. Someone thanks you for helping them, what's your reply? No problem, anytime. Someone shares a different opinion, what can you say? I see what you mean, but I have a bit of a different take. Every one of these responses strengthens your fluency. The more you use them, the more natural they become. Let's close this part with a short reflection. Close your eyes for a second, take a breath, and picture yourself speaking English fluently and with confidence, walking into a room, greeting people naturally, responding politely, expressing yourself clearly, and leaving the conversation with a smile. That image isn't just wishful thinking, it's a glimpse of who you're becoming. Every phrase you learn brings you one step closer. You're not just memorizing sentences here, you're building real habits, real emotions, and a rhythm that will stay with you. So keep repeating these everyday phrases. Use them while texting, while talking with friends, even in your own thoughts. Every small moment of practice adds up to something big. You're doing wonderfully so far, keep going, because fluency is built one phrase at a time. Let's keep the momentum going, because now we're moving into one of the most valuable skills in English communication, small talk. Small talk might sound minor, but it plays a huge role in sounding fluent, confident, and approachable in everyday life. It's how you connect with people naturally without any pressure, using more advanced English. Small talk isn't about having deep, meaningful conversations, it's about creating comfort. It's how you open communication in cafes, offices, elevators, meetings, or even while waiting in line. Let's start with some simple, real-world examples. When greeting someone instead of a plain hello, try something warmer like, hi, how's your day going? Hey. How have you been? Or good to see you again. These small shifts instantly make your English sound friendlier and more approachable. Repeat softly, how's your day going? How have you been? Good to see you again. Now imagine you're at work, greeting a colleague in the morning. You might say, morning. How's everything going? Or hey, hope your day's off to a good start. And if someone asks you, how's your day going? You can respond naturally with phrases like, pretty good so far, can't complain, busy but good, or same old, same old. Repeat those again, pretty good so far. Can't complain, busy but good, same old, same old. These are the kind of casual, everyday responses you'll hear constantly from native speakers, short, relaxed, and full of natural rhythm. Let's practice a quick small talk scene. You say, hey, how's your day going? Your friend replies, pretty good so far. How about you? You reply, can't complain, it's just been a long morning. See how naturally that flows. It's simple, but that's really what fluency sounds like, not rehearsed, just human and easy. Small talk often touches on things like weather, plans, or everyday life, topics that feel safe and familiar. You could say things like, "Nice day today, isn't it? Looks like rain's coming, it's been pretty cold lately," or "This week is flying by." Let's repeat those with a natural rhythm. Nice day today, isn't it? Looks like rain's coming, it's been pretty cold lately, this week is flying by. Now try adding a bit of opinion or feeling. Nice day today, isn't it? Perfect for a walk, or looks like rain's coming, I actually love that cozy feeling. That's what adds warmth and personality to your English. Let's try another quick scenario. You're standing in line somewhere and the person next to you says, "This weather's been so unpredictable." You could respond, "Yeah, tell me about it, one day it's sunny." The next it's freezing, or someone says, "Can't believe how hot it's been." You reply, "I know, right? Feels like summer showed up early." Small reactions like "Tell me about it, I know, right?" or "Exactly" are essential in natural English. They keep conversations feeling alive and connected. Now let's move into talking about plans and time. Try phrases like, "What are you up to this weekend? Any plans after work? How's your week looking? I'm thinking of just relaxing tonight, or I might head out with some friends." Repeat these gently. What are you up to this weekend? Any plans after work? How's your week looking? I'm thinking of relaxing tonight, I might head out with friends. These work great to start or keep small talk going. Here's a quick example. Imagine chatting with a friend on a Friday afternoon. You ask, "Hey, any plans for the weekend?" They reply, "Not really, probably just staying home and resting." You say, "Sounds good, you've earned it." Simple, warm, and natural, exactly what you want in daily English. Let's go a bit further and talk about showing genuine interest in someone's life. This is what makes your English not just fluent, but meaningful. Use phrases like, "How's everything going with you? How's work been? How's the family doing? What have you been up to?" Or, "It's been a while, how have you been?" These make you sound caring and engaged. Repeat softly, "How's everything with you? How's work been? What have you been up to? It's been a while, how have you been?" Let's practice a friendly exchange. You say, "Hey, it's been a while, how have you been?" Your friend replies, "Pretty good, just busy with work." You respond, "Yeah, I hear you, work's been nonstop for me too." That's really all it takes, small talk filled with warmth and genuine feeling. Remember, fluency isn't just about perfect grammar, it's about human rhythm, knowing when to ask, when to listen, when to respond gently. Now let's talk about moving from small talk into something a bit deeper. When you want to shift a light conversation into something more meaningful, you can use transition phrases like, "Speaking of that, that reminds me, actually, I've been thinking about," or "Funny you mentioned that." For instance, someone says, "I've been working a ton lately." You could say, "Yeah. Speaking of work, have you ever thought about switching jobs?" Or a friend mentions, "I watched a movie last night." You respond, "Oh, funny you mentioned that, I just watched a great one myself." Let's run through a few quick examples. A friend says, "I'm thinking about going on vacation soon." You reply, "That reminds me, I really need to renew my passport." A coworker says, "I've been drinking way more coffee lately." You respond, "Actually, I've been trying to cut back on mine." A friend says, "I signed up for a cooking class." You say, "Oh, really? Funny you mentioned that, I tried making something new just yesterday." Try repeating these at your own pace, feeling the natural rhythm as you go. Let's take a moment to reflect. Every time you use a connecting phrase or a genuine reaction, something powerful is happening. You're actually thinking in English, not translating from your first language. You're responding emotionally, instantly, directly. That's what real fluency looks like, not speed, but connection and comfort. Let's do a short self-practice round. I'll give you a prompt, and you imagine how you'd respond naturally. Prompt 1, "Hey, how's your week been?" You might say, "Pretty good, just a little busy." Prompt 2, "It's been raining all day." You could respond, "Yeah. Tell me about it, hasn't let up since morning." Prompt 3, "Any plans for tonight?" You might say, "Not much, probably just relaxing at home." Prompt 4, "Good to see you again." You respond, "Good to see you too, it's been forever." Every one of these small exchanges is a chance to build fluency and train your brain to think in English naturally. Remember, small talk isn't small progress. Every greeting, every little comment, every casual chat is building your confidence and helping your brain use English without overthinking. So starting today, look for chances to start small conversations at the store, in class, at work, or online. Try using one of today's phrases at least once a day. That's really all it takes to move from studying English to actually living it. Now that you've got a feel for starting small talk, let's talk about how to keep a conversation going once it begins. A lot of learners can open a conversation just fine, but they struggle to keep it flowing, they run out of things to say, or worry about sounding dull. The trick is to build on whatever the other person shares, keeping the energy going through curiosity, reactions, and shared experiences. Let's imagine this scenario. Someone says, "I went hiking last weekend." Instead of just replying, "Oh, nice," you could say something that keeps the conversation alive, like, "That sounds amazing, where'd you go?" Or, "Really? I've always wanted to try that. How was it?" See how these questions invite the person to share more? That's how natural flow happens in English. Repeat with me, "That sounds amazing." "Where did you go? How was it? I've always wanted to try that." Let's look at a few more examples. Someone says, "I watched a new show on Netflix." You could reply, "Oh, really? What's it about?" Or, "Nice, was it good?" Someone says, "I just started learning guitar." You respond, "That's so cool. How long have you been playing?" Someone says, "I tried a new recipe this weekend." You could say, "That's great. What did you make?" Notice how you're not just reacting, you're inviting them to keep talking. That's exactly what fluent speakers do. They keep the door open with simple, warm questions that make the other person feel heard. Let's try a speaking challenge together. I'll say something, and you imagine your natural follow-up. I say, "I'm planning a trip next month." You might respond, "Oh, nice, where are you headed?" I say, "I've been feeling pretty tired lately." You could say, "Oh no, are you getting enough rest?" I say, "I've been learning English for 3 years now." You might respond, "That's amazing, what's helped you the most?" You're learning to sound not just polite, but genuinely engaged and emotionally connected. Sometimes in conversation, you'll want to express surprise, empathy, or emotion to keep your speech feeling alive. Native speakers do this with short, expressive reactions like, "Oh wow, that's incredible," "Really? That must be tough, good for you," or "That's so funny." Let's repeat a few, "Oh wow. That's incredible. Really, that must be tough, good for you, that's so funny." Here are some quick examples. A friend says, "I finally got promoted." You respond, "Oh wow, congratulations, that's amazing." Someone says, "I woke up at 5 a.m. to go for a run." You reply, "Really? That's so early, good for you." Another friend says, "I lost my phone yesterday." You respond, "Oh no, that's rough." These small emotional reactions keep your speech feeling warm and full of energy. Now let's talk about sharing your own experiences naturally, a key part of sounding fluent. You don't need long, complicated stories, just a simple structure, context, a small detail, and a feeling. For example, last night I tried a new restaurant near my place. The food was amazing and the atmosphere felt really cozy. I think I'll go back next week. Or, I started a new English book. It's a bit challenging, but I'm really enjoying it. Or, I went for a jog this morning. The air felt so fresh, it was a great way to start the day. Now try creating your own version out loud. Think of something small you did today, maybe drinking your morning coffee, watching a video, or finishing a task, and describe it using that same pattern. What you did, one small detail. And how it made you feel. Take a moment and give it a try. That's exactly what fluent English feels like, calm, clear, and full of life. Let's move on to another useful set of phrases, clarifying and confirming expressions that keep conversations smooth when you want to make sure you understood correctly. Instead of repeating the same words over and over, try, "So you mean, just to be clear, if I got that right, are you saying that?" Or, "Let me make sure I understand." Let's go through them. "So you mean, just to be clear, if I got that right, are you saying that? Let me make sure I understand." Imagine you're in a conversation and someone says, "We're moving the meeting to Friday instead of Thursday." You could respond, "Just to be clear, that's this coming Friday, right?" Or someone says, "I'll bring the document later." You might say, "So you mean sometime after lunch?" These small clarifying touches make your communication sound careful and professional. You're confirming politely instead of appearing confused. Let's also look at how fluent speakers vary the way they share opinions instead of repeating, "I think," over and over. Try natural alternatives like, "In my opinion, from my point of view," "If you ask me, to be honest," or "Personally, I feel that." Repeat these softly. "In my opinion, from my point of view," "If you ask me, to be honest," "Personally, I feel that." Now let's put them into real sentences. "In my opinion, listening practice matters more than grammar drills. From my point of view, confidence comes from consistent daily practice. If you ask me." Learning through real-life examples works best. "To be honest, I still get nervous speaking sometimes too." personally. I feel that watching English shows really helps. Now try making your own sentence using one of these phrases about your own life, maybe something like, to be honest. I learn best when I speak out loud, or personally, I feel that writing every day helps me remember new words better. That's real fluency, comfortably expressing your own thoughts in English. Let's move on to blending agreement and disagreement naturally, for those moments when someone says something you only partly agree with, when someone says something you partly agree with. You don't have to choose between a full yes or a flat no. You can use phrases like, that's true, but I agree to some extent, but that's partly true, however, or I see your point. Although, let's repeat these together. That's true, but I agree to some extent, but that's partly true, however, I see your point, although, here's an example. A friend says working from home is always better than going to the office. You could respond, that's true, but I do miss seeing people face to face sometimes. Or a coworker says, grammar is the most important part of learning a language. You might say, I agree to some extent. But I think speaking practice matters just as much. These phrases let you express a balanced opinion without sounding like you're simply arguing. Let's try a quick practice round. I'll give you a statement and you respond using one of these balanced phrases. Social media makes people less social. Your response might be, that's partly true, however, it also helps people stay connected across long distances. Next. You need to move abroad to become fluent in a language. You could say, I see your point. Although plenty of people become fluent without ever leaving home. Nicely done, you're learning how to sound thoughtful and open-minded, rather than simply agreeing or disagreeing outright. That's a great place to pause for today. We've covered a huge range of everyday expressions, from showing agreement and surprise to softening disagreement, expressing gratitude, asking curious questions, keeping conversations flowing, and sharing your own experiences with warmth and structure. None of this is about memorizing long lists of vocabulary. It's about picking a handful of these natural phrases, practicing them out loud, and using them in real conversations until they start to feel automatic. So here's your homework. Pick 3 or 4 phrases from today's lesson and use them at least once today while texting a friend, chatting with a coworker, or even just talking to yourself in the mirror. That's how fluency actually gets built, one small, real conversation at a time. You can use phrases like, that's true, but I agree to some extent, you have a point though, or I'm not sure I completely agree. Let's repeat these slowly, that's true. But I agree to some extent, you have a point though, I'm not sure I completely agree. Let's try a few examples. A friend says watching movies is enough to learn English. You reply, that's true, but I think speaking practice matters too. A coworker says grammar isn't important at all. You respond, I agree to some extent, though it still helps to understand the basics. A friend says everyone should learn a second language. You say, you have a point. Though not everyone has the same opportunity. Notice how gentle and balanced these sound. That's what gives your English an advanced, natural feel. Now let's practice phrases for giving suggestions and advice. Instead of the direct you should, soften it with, maybe you could, have you tried, it might be a good idea to, or you might want to, for example. Maybe you could watch short videos daily to sharpen your listening. Have you tried keeping a small notebook for new vocabulary? It might be a good idea to practice shadowing out loud. You might want to listen to slow English audio before bed. Repeat these gently. Maybe you could, have you tried, it might be a good idea to, you might want to. These softer phrases sound polite, encouraging, and supportive, exactly how a fluent speaker gives advice. Here's a short reflection exercise. Think of an English learner you know, maybe a friend or even yourself, and offer a piece of advice using one of these phrases. Perhaps, have you tried talking to yourself in the mirror? Or you might want to listen to English music to pick up on rhythm. Or it might be a good idea to record your voice and track your progress. Notice how natural that feels. You're not ordering. You're gently guiding. That's the beauty of fluent English, kind and confident at the same time. Take a breath for a second. You've now learned how to agree, disagree, show curiosity, express emotion, and give advice. These are the real building blocks of everyday communication. And here's something important. When you combine all these phrases together, you stop studying English and start actually living it. Your goal isn't memorizing every single word, it's building the habit of responding naturally in English. So next time someone talks to you, really listen. Don't translate in your head, just respond with something small and natural like, yeah, I get what you mean, or that's interesting, or I totally understand. Every time you do that, you're practicing real fluency. Now that you know how to express ideas and feelings clearly, let's look at something just as important: how to sound natural through rhythm, pauses, and filler expressions that make your speech feel alive and confident. Native speakers don't always talk in perfect, complete sentences. They use pauses and small words like well, you know, actually, and so to give themselves a moment to think. These aren't errors, they're part of the natural rhythm of English conversation. For example, if someone asks, "What do you think about learning English online?" you might say, "Well, I think it's great because you can study from anywhere." Or if someone asks, "Do you enjoy watching movies in English?" you could respond, "Yeah, actually, I do. It really helps with pronunciation." Let's repeat these softly. Well, actually, you know, so these gentle connectors make your English sound smooth and effortless. Let's try a quick practice round. I'll ask a few questions and you answer naturally, starting with one of these filler words. Question 1: Do you study English every day? You might answer, "Well, I try to. Some days are harder than others." Question 2: Do you enjoy learning through videos? You could say, "Yeah. Actually, I do. It keeps things interesting." Question 3: Do you think grammar is important? Try, "You know, I think grammar matters, but practice matters more." That's the sound of genuine, relaxed conversation. Now let's talk about intonation, how your voice rises and falls naturally as you speak. Intonation carries emotion and brings your words to life. For instance, when you ask, "Really?" your voice lifts slightly at the end. When you say, "I see," to show understanding, your tone drops a bit to sound calm. When you say, "That's amazing," your tone rises with excitement. Practicing this helps you sound expressive and confident. Let's try a few together. Say softly, "Really?" with a rising tone. "I see," with a falling tone. "That's amazing," with a rising tone. "Oh, that's too bad," with a low, gentle tone. As you train your ear for rhythm and tone, you'll start noticing how English carries emotion through sound, not just through words. Let's look at a few more advanced conversation habits: how to switch topics smoothly and how to close a conversation politely. Sometimes you need to shift from one topic to another without it feeling abrupt. You can use phrases like, "Anyway, by the way, speaking of which," or "That reminds me." For example, "Anyway, let's get back to what we were talking about." Or, "Speaking of travel, I've always wanted to visit Japan." Repeat softly. "Anyway, by the way, speaking of which, that reminds me." When it's time to wrap up a conversation, skip the plain bye and try friendlier closings like, "It was great talking to you. Let's talk again soon. I'll catch you later. Take care," or "Have a good one." Practice these with some warmth. "It was great talking to you. Let's talk again soon. I'll catch you later. Take care." These soft closings make your English sound polite, natural, and mature. Let's see how this plays out in a full exchange. You say, "Anyway, I should probably get going." Your friend replies, "Yeah, me too. It was great talking to you." You respond, "Same here. Let's catch up again soon." Calm, natural. Fluent, exactly how real English conversations tend to flow. Let's add one more layer: reactive phrases that show you're emotionally engaged in the conversation. Try, "I know what you mean." "Exactly, totally, that's so true, right? And tell me about it." These show empathy and shared understanding. Repeat with me, "I know what you mean. Exactly, totally, that's so true, right? Tell me about it." Here's how they might sound in real conversation. Your friend says, "Learning English can be exhausting sometimes." You reply, "Tell me about it." Someone says, "It's hard to find time to practice." You respond, "I know what you mean." A coworker says, "Speaking every day really helps." You say, "Exactly, practice really does make progress." These phrases make you sound present and genuinely engaged in the moment. Now let's go a bit deeper, expressing feelings and emotions. Talking about how you feel makes you sound more human and relatable in English. Instead of just "I'm happy," try "I'm really glad about that," or "That made my day." Instead of "I'm sad," say "I feel a bit down today," or "It's been a rough day," for excitement use. "I'm thrilled," "I'm so excited," "This is amazing." For disappointment, try "I'm a bit upset," "That's disappointing," or "I was hoping for better." Practice saying these with feeling. "I'm really glad about that." "That made my day." "It's been a rough day." "I'm thrilled." "That's disappointing." "I was hoping for better." Saying these lines with real emotion trains your voice to match your meaning. That's emotional fluency. Now let's combine emotion with connection in a short scene. You tell a friend, "I finally finished my big project." They respond, "That's amazing, you must feel so relieved." You reply, "Yeah, I'm thrilled, it was a lot of work." But totally worth it. That's real communication, full of warmth, tone, and genuine humanity. Let's move on to expressing opinions and preferences in more natural ways. Instead of only saying "I like" or "I don't like," vary your language with "I'm really into," "I'm not a big fan of," "I prefer," "I'm crazy about," "I can't stand," or "I'd rather." Repeat with me. I'm really into, I'm not a big fan of, I prefer, I'm crazy about, I can't stand, I'd rather. Here are some examples. I'm really into learning new languages these days. I'm not a big fan of spicy food. I prefer morning walks over evening ones. I'm crazy about photography. I can't stand waiting in long lines. I'd rather stay in tonight. Now make your own sentence out loud using one of these patterns, maybe about food, music, movies, or a hobby. Each time you say it, you strengthen your fluency by linking English directly to your real feelings. Let's talk about responding to compliments gracefully, another handy everyday skill. If someone says your English is really good, you could reply, "Thank you, that means a lot. I appreciate that," or even, "I'm still learning, but thank you." If someone compliments your accent, you might say, "That's kind of you to say." Let's repeat a few softly. "Thank you, that means a lot. I appreciate that, that's kind of you to say. I'm still learning, but thank you." Responding this way shows both humility and confidence, a great combination for sounding fluent and approachable. Now let's bring everything together with a short reflection. Take a moment to think about your day. How many of today's phrases could you naturally use in your next conversation? Maybe starting with "How's your day going?" or "That sounds great," or "Actually, I've been practicing my English a lot lately." The more you speak this way, the more automatic it becomes. Remember, fluency isn't just about vocabulary, it's about connection, tone, emotion, and rhythm. You're already building all of that by practicing these everyday phrases with me. So keep saying them out loud, keep feeling them, and keep picturing yourself using them in real conversations. That's exactly how fluency takes root. You're doing great. Let's keep building this step by step, because by the end of this lesson, you won't just know these phrases, you'll truly own them. Let's keep this momentum going, because now I want you to really start feeling how English becomes part of the way you think, not just something you study, but something you actually live. When you speak English naturally, you're not focused on grammar rules or translation, you're focused on the message, the rhythm, the feeling of genuinely connecting with someone. That's exactly what these everyday phrases are helping you build: confidence and natural flow in real conversation. Let's explore a few more expressions that make your communication sound clear and advanced, the kind native speakers use without even realizing how powerful they are. Let's start with time phrases, small expressions that describe when something happened, which help your storytelling feel more natural. Instead of only saying "yesterday" or "tomorrow," try "the other day," "a while ago," "in a bit," "later on," "before long," or "back then." For example, I ran into her the other day at the cafe. I'll call you in a bit. Before long, you'll be speaking fluently. Back then, I didn't know a single English phrase. Repeat these softly. The other day, a while ago, in a bit, later on, before long, back then. These little time markers add life and variety to your speech, making it sound natural instead of robotic. Now let's look at conditional phrases, expressions used to describe possible situations or hopes. You already know "if," but fluent speakers use several softer variations too, like "as long as," "in case," "even if," "provided that," or "unless." Here's how they sound in real use. You'll improve quickly as long as you practice daily. Bring an umbrella in case it rains. Even if it's tough, keep pushing forward. You can come along. Provided that you finish your homework first. I won't stop learning unless I reach fluency. Now repeat those slowly. As long as, in case, even if, provided that, unless. Each of these connectors adds depth to your speech. They show cause, condition, and reasoning, which are all signs of advanced fluency. Let's move to something practical now, phrases for expressing uncertainty or possibility, since in real life we don't always have a definite answer. Instead of just saying "I don't know," try softer alternatives like "I'm not sure," "maybe," "it could be," "I guess so," "it depends," or "I'll have to check." Repeat these gently. I'm not sure, maybe, it could be, I guess so, it depends, I'll have to check. Here's a quick example. A friend asks, "Are you free tomorrow?" You respond, "I'm not sure, I might have some work." A coworker asks, "Do you think it'll rain today?" You say, "Maybe." It depends on the forecast. These softer responses make your English sound polite and realistic, just like real everyday speech. Now let's practice something fluent speakers do constantly, reacting to new information. When someone tells you something surprising, you can respond with phrases like, "Oh, I didn't know that. Is that so? That's interesting. Really?" Or "Good to know." Repeat these softly. "Oh, I didn't know that. Is that so? That's interesting. Really good to know." These reactions show you're engaged and keep your tone lively and friendly. Here's a quick exercise. I'll say something and you respond with one of these phrases. Did you know English has over 1 million words? You say, "Oh, I didn't know that. Coffee was actually discovered over 1,000 years ago." You respond, "That's interesting. The word okay is understood almost everywhere in the world." You say, "Really? Good to know." Simple reactions like these keep conversations flowing beautifully. Let's move on to phrases that help you manage conversations professionally, great for meetings, group discussions, or more formal chats. When you want to share your opinion, try, "If I may add something," or "From my experience." When you want to jump in, politely use, "Sorry to interrupt." But or "Can I just say something here?" And when you want to agree diplomatically, say, "I think you're absolutely right," or "That's a very good point." Repeat these softly. "If I may add something, from my experience, sorry to interrupt." But "Can I just say something here? That's a very good point." These phrases are especially handy if you use English at work or school. They help you sound respectful and confident at once. Let's try a short professional scenario. You're in a meeting and someone says, "We should focus more on online marketing." You respond, "That's a very good point. If I may add, we could also work on improving our website." Or someone says, "We still don't have enough feedback." You reply, "I totally agree, and from my experience." Gathering feedback early really makes a difference. Notice how polished and fluent that sounds. That's the balance of clarity and respect that defines advanced English communication. Let's ease up a bit and cover some phrasal verbs for daily life, combinations of verbs and prepositions that instantly make you sound more native. Here are a few useful ones. Wake up, to get out of bed. I wake up at 7 every day. Get along with, to have a good relationship. I get along with my coworkers really well. Run out of, to have none left. We ran out of coffee. Look after, to take care of someone. I look after my little sister. Turn down, to reject or lower something. I turned down the volume. Figure out, to solve or understand something. I finally figured out the answer. Repeat each one softly. Wake up, get along with, run out of, look after, turn down, figure out. Let's use these in short, everyday exchanges. You say, "I ran out of milk this morning." Your friend replies, "Oh no, me too, I'll grab some later." You say, "I finally figured out how to use that app." Your friend responds, "Nice. That took me forever to learn." You say, "I get along with my coworkers really well." Your friend says, "That's great. It makes work so much easier." Practicing phrasal verbs this way trains your brain to recognize them instantly and naturally. Now let's shift to phrases for showing understanding or empathy, the kind that make you sound emotionally aware in English. Try, "That must be hard. I can imagine. I know how you feel. That sounds tough. Don't worry about it," or "Everything will be fine." Repeat these gently. "That must be hard. I can imagine. I know how you feel. That sounds tough. Don't worry about it. Everything will be fine." Picture this scene. A friend says, "I didn't do well on my exam." You respond, "Oh, I know how you feel. That must be hard, but you'll do better next time." Someone says, "I've been really busy lately." You reply, "I can imagine. Make sure to rest when you can." These phrases help you sound genuinely kind and thoughtful, which matters just as much as fluency itself. Let's pause for a quick reflection before moving on. Think of 3 phrases from today's lesson that stood out to you the most. Maybe "I'll call you in a bit," or "Don't worry about it," or "I figured it out." Now picture how you could use them in a real conversation soon. Remember, repetition is the key here. The more you say these phrases, the faster they become a natural part of how your brain uses English. You're doing really well so far. Every section we cover adds another layer to your fluency. Soon you'll notice that when you speak, the words start coming out smoothly, automatically, and with real confidence, simply because your brain has practiced these rhythms again and again. So keep going. You're already halfway through this journey toward natural spoken English, and it only gets better from here. Now let's take your fluency practice a step further. So far, we've focused on daily phrases, reactions, and connectors that make your English feel natural. But real communication isn't just about the words themselves. It's also about rhythm, emotion, and the confidence behind how you deliver your message. So in this next part, we'll focus on expressing yourself fully in any situation, whether you're telling a story, sharing an opinion, or describing a personal experience. When you tell a story in English, structure really matters. Most fluent speakers naturally follow a pattern. They set the scene, add details, and share how they felt. Let's try this together. Imagine you're describing your weekend. You might start with something like, "It all started on Saturday morning," or "Last weekend was really special because," or so. "Something funny happened yesterday." These small openers instantly grab attention and help your story flow naturally. Repeat softly, "It all started on Saturday morning. Last weekend was really special because something funny happened yesterday. Now let's build a story together." It all started on Saturday morning when I decided to go for a walk. The weather was beautiful, so I grabbed a coffee and headed to the park. I ran into an old friend completely by surprise, and we ended up talking for hours. It felt so good to reconnect. Notice how simple yet complete that story feels. It's not about fancy vocabulary, it's about sequence, feeling, and connection. Now try thinking of a small story from your own life, maybe about meeting someone, learning something new, or a funny moment. Start it with one of our openers like "It all started when," or "You won't believe what happened," and let the details flow naturally from there. Take a short pause and try saying it out loud. You're doing great. Let's now look at transition phrases that keep your story smooth and connected. Use expressions like "after that," "a few minutes later," "suddenly," "meanwhile," "in the end," or "to my surprise." For example, "After that we decided to grab lunch. A few minutes later. It started raining. Meanwhile my phone battery died. In the end it turned into one of my favorite days. To my surprise. Everything worked out perfectly. These transition words help your listener follow your story naturally. They act like signposts guiding the direction of your speech. Repeat them softly. After that, a few minutes later, meanwhile, in the end, to my surprise. Now let's explore something many advanced learners overlook, describing feelings and experiences more vividly. When talking about emotions, don't just say "I was happy" or "I was sad." Try more expressive alternatives instead. Instead of "I was happy," say "I was over the moon" or "I couldn't stop smiling." Instead of "I was sad," say "I felt down" or "My heart sank." Instead of "I was nervous," say "My hands were shaking." Or "I had butterflies in my stomach." Instead of "I was surprised," say "I was taken aback" or "It completely caught me off guard." These phrases let you express emotion in a genuinely human way, just like native speakers do. Let's repeat a few together. "I was over the moon, my heart sank, I had butterflies in my stomach, it caught me off guard." Let's try a short emotional storytelling example. "When I got my first compliment on my English, I was over the moon. It felt like all my effort had finally paid off. I couldn't stop smiling all day." Now try imagining your own short story using one of these emotional phrases, maybe about your English journey, a personal goal, or a small moment of pride. Adding emotion like this makes your English feel more alive and memorable. Now let's move on to phrases for reflection and realization, the kind that make you sound thoughtful and mature. Try "looking back, I've realized that," "it taught me that," "it made me understand," "since then," or "that moment changed me." For example, looking back. "I've realized that consistency is everything. That experience taught me that mistakes are part of learning. Since then, I've felt more confident speaking." Repeat these gently. "Looking back, I've realized that," "it taught me that," "since then," "that moment changed me." These reflective phrases show real growth and maturity. They let people see your journey, not just hear your words. Let's connect this to your own English learning story. You might say something like, "Looking back, I've realized that speaking for even 5 minutes a day makes a huge difference. It taught me that practice doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to be consistent." That's not just fluent English, that's fluent thinking in English. Now let's move into phrases for motivation and encouragement, ones you can use with yourself or with others when things feel tough. Repeat softly, "One step at a time, every day counts, progress." Not perfection, you've come a long way, keep going, you're getting there, believe in your journey. These phrases don't just keep you motivated, they sound genuinely warm and human. Let's put them into small, everyday examples. You say, "I feel like my progress is really slow." A friend responds, "Don't worry, one step at a time." Every day counts. You say, "I made so many mistakes today." Your friend replies, "That's okay, progress, not perfection." You say, "I still don't feel fluent yet." Your friend says, "But you've come a long way. Keep going, you're getting there." Each of these phrases can become part of your own self-talk, a gentle reminder that growth in English, like in life, happens slowly and steadily. Now imagine you're the one encouraging someone else, a friend or fellow learner. You might say, "You're improving faster than you realize. I can already see the difference. Don't stop now, you're closer than you think," or "It's fine to take a break." But never give up. These words don't just help others, they strengthen your own mindset too. Let's talk about phrases for confidence and self-assurance now. When you want to sound confident without coming across as arrogant, try, "I'm pretty sure, I'm confident that, I believe from what I know," or "I feel certain that," for example. "I'm pretty sure this is the right approach. I believe we can pull this off. I'm confident that practice will pay off." Repeat these. "I'm pretty sure, I'm confident that, I believe from what I know, I feel certain that." These small phrases add real strength to your tone, showing clarity and calm confidence. Let's blend confidence and kindness together in a quick example. You might say, "From what I know, everyone learns differently and that's completely okay." Or, "I believe you'll keep improving as long as you keep practicing." That's exactly what fluent English sounds like: thoughtful, balanced, and genuine. Now let's try one of my favorite fluency exercises, shadowing and reflection. I'll say a few sentences slowly and you repeat them after me, matching the tone and rhythm as closely as you can. "I've come a long way. I'm proud of how much I've grown. Every mistake helps me improve. I can express my thoughts clearly. Fluency isn't about perfection, it's about connection." Take a breath and repeat those softly to yourself again. Notice how your confidence builds with every phrase. This is what real fluency means: speaking from the heart, with calm, honesty, and rhythm. And remember, you're not just learning words, you're learning how to express your life through English. You're doing wonderfully, and there's still more ahead. Let's keep going, because the more you speak, the more natural it becomes, and eventually, English starts to feel like your own language. Now that you're building real confidence in expressing yourself, let's look at how to sound smooth when connecting ideas in longer conversations, because fluency isn't only about what you say. It's about how naturally your thoughts flow from one to the next. One great way to build this is through linking expressions for explanation and reasoning, phrases that help you explain the why or how behind something naturally. Let's go through a few. "That's because," "the reason is," "you see," "basically," "in other words," "to put it simply." Repeat softly. "That's because," "the reason is," "you see," "basically," "in other words," "to put it simply." Here's how you might use them in real sentences. "I enjoy learning English. That's because it connects me with people around the world. You see, the key to fluency is daily consistency." Basically, practice turns knowledge into real confidence. In other words, the more you use English, the more natural it becomes. These linking phrases let your ideas flow smoothly. They're the glue that holds your thoughts together. Let's continue with phrases that help organize longer stretches of speech. You can use "first of all," "secondly," "finally," or in more casual speech, to start with, "then again," on top of that, "last but not least." For example, first of all, you need motivation. Secondly, you need a daily routine. And finally, you need patience. Or in a more relaxed tone, to start with, "I love English movies. On top of that, I enjoy picking up new expressions from them." Repeat these softly. First of all, secondly, finally, on top of that, last but not least. These phrases are especially useful for presentations or explanations. They make your English sound organized and polished. Let's try a quick activity. Imagine you're giving simple advice about learning English. First of all, listen more than you speak. Secondly, repeat what you hear. And finally, don't be afraid of making mistakes. That's clear, confident, fluent English. Now let's look at phrases for expressing preference and comparison. Fluent speakers often describe their choices in subtle, natural ways. Instead of just saying, "I like a more than B," try, "I'd rather," "I prefer," "I tend to," "I usually go for," "I'm more into," or "I don't really go for example. "I'd rather stay in than go out on weekends." "I tend to wake up early, it helps me focus." "I'm more into quiet cafes than crowded ones." "I don't really go for spicy food." Repeat these softly. "I'd rather," "I prefer," "I tend to," "I usually go for," "I'm more into," "I don't really go for." These phrases come in handy when describing habits, tastes, or lifestyle choices. Let's move on to phrases that express possibility and likelihood. They help you sound realistic and balanced. Try "it might," "it could," "there's a chance," "it's likely that," or "I wouldn't be surprised if," for example, "it might rain later." So bring an umbrella. It could be a good idea to practice in the morning. There's a chance we'll meet again soon. It's likely that you'll improve quickly if you stay consistent. I wouldn't be surprised if you're fluent by the end of the year. Repeat these softly. It could, there's a chance, it's likely that, I wouldn't be surprised if. These phrases keep your tone thoughtful, not too strong, not too weak, just natural. Now let's look at conversation repair phrases, handy when you don't quite catch something or need a moment to think. Try sorry, what was that again? Could you repeat that? Let me think for a moment. What I mean is, how should I put it? Or I'm trying to say that. Repeat these gently. Sorry. What was that again? Let me think for a moment. What I mean is, how should I put it? These expressions buy you a little time and keep the conversation flowing smoothly. Even when you hesitate, exactly what fluent speakers do too. Let's add phrases for balancing opinions, little bridges that show understanding while still expressing your own view. Try, I see your point, but that's true, although you're right to some extent, at the same time, on the one hand, on the other hand. Repeat these softly. I see your point. But that's true, although you're right to some extent, at the same time, on the one hand, on the other hand. Here's a quick scenario. Someone says learning grammar is boring. You respond, you're right to some extent, but it really helps build a solid foundation. Someone says, I don't think pronunciation matters that much. You reply, I see your point. But clear pronunciation helps people understand you better. These soft connectors let you sound balanced and thoughtful, calm disagreement instead of conflict. Now let's look at phrases for making polite suggestions, especially useful in group settings. Try, why don't we, what if we, maybe we could, how about, or it might be better to, for example. Why don't we practice together this weekend? What if we focused on speaking today? Maybe we could take turns reading out loud. How about watching a short English video? It might be better to. Start with the basics. Repeat these softly. Why don't we, what if we, maybe we could, how about, it might be better to. These phrases are friendly, polite, and cooperative, perfect for both everyday and professional settings. Let's move to phrases for expressing certainty and doubt. Both are important for balanced, natural speech. When you're confident, try definitely, for sure, absolutely, no doubt about it, I'm positive. When you're unsure, try softer options like, I'm not completely sure, it's hard to say, I might be wrong, but, or I'm not certain. Repeat these. Definitely, for sure, absolutely, no doubt about it, I'm positive, and then the softer versions, I'm not completely sure, it's hard to say, I might be wrong. But I'm not certain. These subtle shifts in tone show maturity and make your English sound flexible rather than black and white. Now let's talk about phrases that show enthusiasm and encouragement, because positive energy makes your English feel alive. Try, that's awesome, that's brilliant, good job, keep it up, you nailed it, I'm so proud of you. Repeat these cheerfully. That's awesome, that's brilliant, good job, keep it up, you nailed it, I'm so proud of you. Use these with others, but also with yourself. Every time you finish a practice session, try telling yourself, good job, or I nailed that today. That kind of positive self-talk keeps your motivation strong and your confidence growing. Now let's imagine a full conversation where all of these skills come together. You're chatting with a friend about learning English. You say, to put it simply, consistency matters more than perfection. Your friend responds, yeah, I guess so. You continue, basically. You just need to make it part of your daily routine. Your friend says, true, but sometimes I just don't have the time. You reply, I see your point. Although even 5 minutes a day helps. Your friend suggests, maybe we could practice together online. You respond, that's awesome, let's do that. Notice how natural that sounds. That's not textbook English, that's real, comfortable, confident communication. Before we continue, take a slow breath and reflect for a moment. You've now picked up hundreds of everyday English phrases, not just to recognize, but to actually use. From greetings and reactions to storytelling, motivation, and polite communication, you're building the real habits behind fluency. Remember, fluency isn't a final destination, it's an ongoing process of connection. Every phrase you use, every word you say out loud, brings you a little closer to thinking directly in English. You've come so far already, let's keep going and wrap up this lesson with more real-life examples and some closing thoughts. At this point, you've picked up so many powerful phrases, expressions, and natural sentence patterns that it's time to shift focus to the mindset that actually turns them into fluency. Because real fluency doesn't come from memorization, it comes from living these words daily. using them in small moments until they naturally become part of who you are. Let's start with one of the biggest blocks to fluency, the fear of making mistakes. Nearly every English learner feels it, that small hesitation before speaking, the worry of getting it wrong, the fear of being judged. But here's something worth remembering: even native speakers make mistakes constantly. They forget words, repeat themselves, say or you know, and they just keep going, because communication is the real goal, not perfection. So next time that fear shows up before you speak, pause and remind yourself, I don't need to be perfect, I just need to connect. Repeat that softly, I don't need to be perfect. I just need to connect. That single sentence alone can free you from a lot of hesitation. Now imagine a real-life moment, you're mid-conversation and suddenly forget a word. Instead of freezing up, use a natural filler to keep things moving. Try, what's the word, let me think, how do I say this, or it's kind of like, for example, I went to, what's the word, a bakery, or it's kind of like a park. But smaller, these phrases keep the conversation alive and show confidence even in the middle of a pause. Let's repeat them softly. What's the word, let me think, how do I say this, it's kind of like, that's what real fluency looks like, not speed but smoothness. Let's talk about another key skill, thinking in English. Many learners try to translate from their native language first, but that only slows things down. Instead, try forming your thoughts directly in English, even for small everyday things. When you wake up, think, I'm getting up now. When you're eating, think, this tastes good. When you step outside, think, it's such a nice day. These small sentences turn English into your inner voice, something you no longer have to search for. Repeat softly, I think in English every day, I describe my life in English, I can express myself naturally. Now let's move to another powerful skill, self-correcting without panicking. When you make a mistake, don't freeze completely, just gently fix it and keep going. For example, she goes to work early, or he lives near me. Notice how natural that sounds. Fluent speakers do this all the time, they self-correct calmly and move right along. Try it yourself, I was watching TV. She plays the piano. That's exactly how you turn fear into fluency. Let's talk about building English into your everyday routine. Try small, specific habits like watching one English video a day, writing a short diary entry in English each night, talking to yourself in English for 2 minutes before bed, or narrating what you're doing throughout the day. Each of these trains your brain to treat English as something normal, not foreign. Repeat softly, English is part of my daily life, I practice naturally every day. I enjoy the process. Finally, let's talk about keeping your motivation alive, because fluency isn't just about skill, it's also about energy and mindset. Whenever you feel tired or discouraged, remind yourself why you started learning English in the first place. Maybe it's to travel more freely, connect with people around the world, land a better job, or simply express yourself with confidence. Whatever your reason is, hold on to it, it'll carry you through the tougher days. Say this softly to yourself, I'm learning English for me, I'm improving step by step. I'm proud of my progress. Real motivation doesn't come from outside, it grows from believing in yourself. Now let's talk about making English learning fun and creative, because when you genuinely enjoy something, you learn faster and remember it longer. Instead of sticking only to textbooks, try listening to English songs and singing along. Watch your favorite shows with subtitles and repeat short lines back. Read short articles on topics you actually love, food, travel, science, whatever draws you in, and most importantly, weave English into your hobbies. Love cooking, watch English recipe videos. Into sports, read English sports coverage. Enjoy movies, join English language discussions online. This turns English into a lifestyle instead of just a subject to study. Repeat softly, I live in English, I learn through what I love, English is part of my world. Now let's talk about one of the most beautiful ways to grow, talking to yourself in English. A lot of people underestimate this, but it's genuinely one of the most powerful fluency tools out there, because when you talk to yourself, there's no fear of mistakes. You're completely free to say anything and you're constantly thinking in English. You can do this anytime, while walking, cooking, or getting ready in the morning. Just describe what you're doing, thinking, or feeling. Try things like, I'm getting dressed, I feel tired but I'll push through, I'm planning my day, I'm about to have breakfast. These small moments add up to powerful practice. Let's walk through a quick daily routine example together. I woke up early today. I brushed my teeth, made some tea, and checked my messages. Now I'm watching an English video to kick off my day. Simple, real, and effective, that's what natural English sounds like in everyday life. Now let's move into something even more personal, believing in your identity as an English speaker. You're not just trying to speak English anymore, you already are an English speaker. It doesn't matter if you have an accent or make the occasional mistake. Fluency is about connection, not imitation. Say this softly with me: I am an English speaker. I express myself clearly and confidently. My voice in English is strong and natural. Let those words really sink in. That's your new identity forming, confident, calm, and connected through language. Now picture what your English life could look like a few months from now if you keep this up. You wake up and your thoughts form in English automatically. You listen to a podcast and understand most of it with ease. You join a conversation and respond naturally without translating in your head. You start enjoying speaking not because it's flawless but because it's genuinely you. That's exactly where all these phrases are leading, toward a place of real, natural comfort with the language. And remember, every small action brings that future closer. Every phrase you repeat, every sentence you speak, even every mistake you make, it's all part of your growth. So no matter where you're starting from, beginner, intermediate, or advanced, never compare your journey to anyone else's. You're not behind and you're not late. You're moving at your own pace, and that pace is exactly right for you. Repeat softly: I'm exactly where I need to be. I'm improving every day. Fluency is already within me. Take a moment now to breathe deeply and feel proud of how far you've come in this lesson. You've practiced new phrases, connected ideas, picked up natural tone, and built a real emotional bond with the language. That's what genuine fluency looks like: quiet confidence, steady persistence, and a heart that never stops learning. So keep walking this path with trust and joy. Every phrase you've picked up here is a building block, a piece of your new English voice. You're not just learning to speak, you're learning to express who you are in another language. You've now reached the final stretch of this English fluency lesson. Take a slow breath and give yourself credit for staying with it this whole time. You've listened to hundreds of real, everyday phrases, and more than that, you've practiced the rhythm, tone, and mindset behind natural English speaking. Let's wrap things up by bringing everything together into real-life practice, a full-circle moment that connects your thoughts, feelings, and words. Let's start with a little reflection. Think back to the last few times you actually used English in real life, maybe ordering food, chatting online, writing an email, or practicing with a friend. How did it feel? Maybe you were a bit nervous, maybe you paused often, maybe you made a few small mistakes, but here's the thing: you spoke, you communicated, you connected. That's fluency in action. Every single time you speak, even imperfectly, you're training your brain to feel more confident in English. Now let's repeat a few final affirmations together. Let these become part of your everyday mindset. I can speak English naturally. I use real English every day. I feel calm and confident when I speak. I understand people more easily now. I'm proud of how far I've come. Now picture yourself in a simple English conversation at a cafe, at work, or online. You greet someone, you ask questions, you share your thoughts, you listen, you react, you smile as you talk because you're no longer worrying about what comes next, you're just flowing naturally. That's exactly where you're headed, a place where English feels as natural as breathing. Let's do one final speaking exercise, a real-life fluency scene. Someone says, "Hey, how have you been?" You reply, "I've been good, just keeping busy. How about you?" They say, "I've been picking up some new hobbies lately." You respond, "That's great." "Like what?" They say, "I started learning photography." You reply, "Really? That sounds amazing. I've always wanted to try that." Notice how naturally that flowed, no translating, no hesitating, just genuine connection. Now take a moment and speak freely for a few seconds. Describe your day, your thoughts, your plans. Use the phrases you've picked up here. Don't stress about grammar, just let the words flow. Do this daily and your English voice will start feeling effortless and full of life. And remember, fluency isn't some final destination, it's a journey you keep walking every single day. Some days you'll speak smoothly, other days you'll feel stuck, but as long as you keep showing up, you'll keep moving forward. So make yourself a quiet promise right now to keep learning, gently, patiently, and joyfully. Repeat softly, "I will keep learning, I will keep practicing. I will keep believing in myself." You've already proven you can stay committed. This lesson itself is proof. Every phrase you've repeated, every line you've practiced, has brought you one step closer to real fluency. let's close with a calm moment of reflection. Picture yourself a year from now. You walk into a room, someone speaks to you in English, and you respond confidently, without hesitation, with a genuine smile. Your thoughts and words move together effortlessly. That's your future, fluent, clear, and confident, and it all starts with what you're doing right now. Repeat softly, "My English is improving every day. I speak clearly and confidently. Fluency is becoming natural to me." Remember, the goal was never to know every single word, it's to be able to express yourself with warmth and honesty, and you already can. Let me remind you one more time. Small steps lead to big change, one phrase at a time, one practice session at a time, one conversation at a time. Don't rush the process. Enjoy the rhythm of learning, enjoy the sense of progress, enjoy the quiet confidence building inside you with every sentence you speak. And whenever you doubt yourself, come back to this lesson, listen again, repeat the phrases out loud, and notice how much you've actually grown, because the truth is, you already sound better than you think. You've learned how to greet people naturally, express your feelings and opinions, agree and disagree politely, tell stories with rhythm, and connect emotionally through English. You've built the habits, the tone, and the mindset that real fluency is made of, so carry this energy forward as you keep learning. And the next time you speak English to a friend, a teacher, or even to yourself, speak with confidence, warmth, and joy. You deserve to sound fluent. You deserve to express yourself freely. You deserve to feel proud of your English journey, and I'm genuinely proud of you for making it this far. Now take one last deep breath, smile, and say this with me one final time. I am a fluent English speaker. Congratulations, you've completed this English fluency lesson. Keep practicing, keep believing, and keep shining through your words, because English isn't just a language for you anymore, it's part of who you are. Thanks so much for learning together today on Motion English Podcast. Stay confident, stay curious, and keep speaking straight from the heart. Until next time, wishing you happiness, peace, and endless fluency. See you soon.